Am I the a-hole for telling my mother-in-law I don't give a hoot what she or everyone thinks when she criticized how I spent Mother's Day? My relationship with mother-in-law has been complicated, to say the least. I'm my husband's second wife. I married him when his kids were 7 and 5. His first wife died when they were 1 and 3, and her death was very hard on my husband at his oldest. I actually met him while he was still in grief counseling, and so were the kids. We built up a friendship, and later after we had dated a bit casually, we realized we had feelings for each other. It was a very rough transition. Not going to lie, the kids' maternal side were not pleased that he found someone while the kids were young, and I do believe they eventually influenced the relationship I now have with my stepchildren, who are 19 and 21 respectively. To them, I am their dad's wife. This is how they introduced me. This is how they have introduced me the whole way along. Although they didn't really introduce me the way at all as younger kids, it was more as they got older. There has always been a strain there. It's tough. It has made my relationship with my in-laws, my husband's parents and siblings, at times uncomfortable. They see it as I have been around since before they can remember, and with them not remembering their mom, I'm mom, or at least a mom type. The kids, despite my best efforts, have never embraced or truly accepted me into their lives. I think over the years they have accepted me into their dads, but it has spilled into how they see the children my husband and I have together. About 3 years ago, my stepchildren dug in their heels and refused to celebrate Mother's Day in any way with us. They always saw their maternal family, were always taken to their mom's grave, but even a dinner with me and the family was a very firm no. And after each one moved out, they just stopped talking on Mother's Day with us. This year, I took my kids to the beach for the day and had some good food and relaxed. My mother-in-law told me it was wrong to not even give my stepkids a chance to show up or call. That looked bad. She thought I loved them and all this nonsense. She told me to think about how it must look to everybody else that I'm going off with just my bio kids and celebrating with them on Mother's Day. I told her it was my choice and I moved on. Then she brought it up again. Same response. The third time she brought it up, after my husband had even told her to leave it alone, I told her I did not give a flying cow what she or anybody else thought, and I am not going to be a glutton for punishment the rest of my life. She and the rest of my husband's family are outraged I said that to her, and told me it was uncalled for. My husband told me I could have said much worse. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. If your stepkids refuse to spend Mother's Day with you, what are you supposed to do? Forget you have your own kids and skip it? Nah, that's messed up. Also, this is not your fight. Your husband needs to handle everything with his family and his late wife's family from now on if they are going to be nasty to you. It's not your fault his first wife died, and they act as though he was supposed to be single the rest of his life after his first wife died. He mostly always did handle things with his late wife's family. I did try to be nice and just try to see that I wasn't here trying to raise their daughter, /sister, /granddaughter, /aunt. But yeah, I knew my place with them a long time ago. For the maternal side of the family, they expected him to wait until the kids wouldn't have another mom-like person or even another mom. At least that's how it has always come across. It wasn't the act of moving on, it was the when. So, it seems like they expected him to not move on with his life until his youngest was 18, which would have been 17 years. That is absolutely ridiculous and wholly unfair to expect of anyone. Around that length of time. Maybe if the kids had been teens and less likely to see me as anything but dad's wife. But they definitely appeared to want him to wait until it was next to impossible for a close parental bond to form between me and the kids, or whoever and the kids. Wow. It sucks that he didn't put them in their place early on. He controlled access to the kids. He could have solved this whole thing. He did. Then they sued and won grandparents' visitation, which came with a lot of things we were unable to control. And they won even though he hadn't officially severed contact with them. Not the a-hole. The stepkids haven't expressed interest in celebrating Mother's Day with you before. Why would they now? Considering it sounds like you raised them from pretty young, I find that attitude pretty disrespectful of them assuming you weren't a bad stepmother. That's between you and them. Your mother-in-law is an a-hole though. Not only has she and her family treated you poorly for years, she intruded where she had no right and kept pressing after both you and your husband told her to stop. It was past time to put your foot down, in my opinion. I have just grown to accept that they wanted what their maternal family told them about. The mom who gave birth to them and raised them until her unfortunate passing. And over the years, they believed it would be disrespectful or maybe even dishonoring her to accept me as anything other than the woman Dad is married to. At some point, you don't need to accept it even if you don't like it. Yeah, if she had said it once and left it there, it would be much easier. But she just had to keep pushing. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for accepting a Mother's Day gift from my stepkids? Plus little update. My husband and his ex divorced after husband's ex came out as a trans man. They have 2 kids together who were 7 and 9 at the time. Husband and I married when they were 10 and 12. We now have 2 children together as well who are 3 and 4. Stepkids are now 15 and 18. They have had a rough haul with husband's ex and came to live with us soon after we got married. Ex has been clear the kids are not to call him mom, so they now call him by his first name. He has also been in a series of relationships that have been hard for the kids. I have never asked or expected that they call me mom or see me as a maternal figure. However, this past Mother's Day, they asked if they could join us at dinner and had bought me a gift, a very lovely locket that says mother on it. Well, ex just learned about this and called me very angry. He says I am trying to displace him in his children's lives and that I should return the locket. I find the whole thing confusing as he has made it clear on multiple occasions he doesn't want to be their mother. I really don't want to do that as I think it would hurt the kids. So am I the a-hole for accepting the mother locket from my stepkids? Not the a-hole. That is such a lovely thing for them to do. You're not replacing him as a parent, but you are providing the mom role they clearly miss having with him. I have tried to help where I can. Truly. Like when stepdaughter needed her first bra. I knew that would be hard for ex, and I also knew husband would have zero clue. So I took her shopping. Stuff like that. Girls need a female figure in their life to help with stuff like periods and bras. It's great that she feels comfortable with you. Not the a-hole, but I don't think it's got anything to do with their transparent. They're old enough and you've been part of their lives long enough that they can decide who they view as a mother figure. I'd say the same if their birther was still identifying as female. Exactly. Not the a-hole. They bought that for you because you were a mother figure to them. The ex seems to be jealous or insecure about it, but you shouldn't return it because of him. The kids will think that you don't want to be their mother. Not the a-hole. Sounds like the ex has lots of personal issues to deal with that they don't need to project onto you. You have been there for the kids. They've lived with you and you aren't erasing their bio mom. Update. First, thank you so much for all your kind words and encouragement. It really does mean a lot because I'm trying out here. So I called X because that's who I am. I started the conversation by letting X know that stepkids are amazing and smart and funny and headed to a lot of success. And X can take a lot of credit for that. X was absolutely their primary caregiver from birth until late elementary school. Those are important years and those are hard years. I am parenting 2 young children now and it is tough. And I am doing it without having to struggle with/against my own identity at the same time. I think X did an amazing thing for nearly a decade. And whatever happened or happens after that doesn't erase X's influence and hard work. I also acknowledged to X that, as the parent of young children, I totally know that if in 10 years my kids are estranged from me, even if I have done something that justifies it, I would feel hurt and angry. It is easy to feel someone owes you if you change their diaper and wipes their noses consistently for years. And I got a laugh here, so that's good. I also told X I would be keeping the locket. Not to hurt X or displace X, but because I love the kids that we, for better or for worse, share now. I also told X I want X to be more open with husband and I about what we can do to support X's relationship with these young adults. But that support can't be at the expense of the kids' happiness, safety, or health. X wasn't necessarily happy with this answer, but seemed to understand better too. He said that he will always feel like I took over his life, but he thinks we can be civil. That is his right to think, and I hope that we can be more civil going forward. Oh, and since Mother's Day, stepdaughter has been calling me Mama D. I haven't stopped her, and if I am honest, it makes me rather happy. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for going to a Mother's Day lunch when I'm child-free? I, 23 female, was invited to a Mother's Day lunch by my childhood best friend, Haley, 24 female. Haley is hosting and paying for the lunch. Her kid is Dee Dee, 3 female. I was confused since I have been openly child-free since I was 15. I felt weird intruding on a celebration that had nothing to do with me. I thought it was to babysit, but she said that wasn't the reason. For context, her devout family cut her off due to her pregnancy. So I was the only person there to help her with doctor appointments, errands, cleaning, etc. When Dee Dee was born, I helped with anything she needed until she got her bearings. She doesn't need much help now, but I am still very involved. Haley texted, When I think of having and raising Dee Dee, you always come to mind. You were always there. And if it weren't for you, I might have really messed up. I want you to be there. Mother's Day has always brought up very comfortable or unwanted comments towards me, so I stay out of the way. To have Haley include me in such a personal way meant a lot. I love Dee Dee and was so honored. Skip to the lunch date last Saturday. Sitting at the table was Haley, 2 co-workers of hers, Dee Dee's nanny of 2 years, and me. A little into lunch, Haley said that her gym buddy was asking to join since her sitter canceled, so her plans fell through. We all said no problem. Gina shows up with her kid in tow and lunch starts up again. While we're talking, coworker 1 shows a gift she got from one of her kids, which sparks a conversation about fulfilling things their kids do. I commented at their stories, but didn't have my own, so I let them talk. Everyone at the table was aware I didn't have kids / was child-free, except for Gina. I didn't figure it would be noticeable if I was contributing to the conversation. I just loved being part of it and seeing the point of view of mothers. Gina must have noticed I hadn't added anything, so she asked me about my kids, and said she noticed I was left out. I told her I don't have any kids to talk about, but she got wide-eyed and apologized for bringing up painful stuff. I quickly corrected her and said it wasn't anything painful. I was just child-free. She got quiet, and after a minute, asked Haley to head to the bathroom with her. They came back looking pissed, and when I texted Haley asking what's wrong, she said nothing. Eventually, Gina, angrily, asked why I was even here if I wasn't a mom. I explained Haley invited me, but Gina just shook her head and said it didn't matter. It was insulting that I was even here when I didn't respect and avoided motherhood. It got heated after Gina said a few more hurtful things to Haley and I, and she was told to leave. Once lunch was over, Haley started crying in the car because she'd been looking forward to this lunch for 2 weeks. I feel terrible. I knew how much this meant to her, and I didn't think my child-free stance would come off as hating motherhood. I really don't. I just don't want to be a mother myself. Should I just not accept this invite in the first place? Now for the top comments. Gina sounds absolutely awful. You did nothing wrong, not even in the slightest. Gina's an awful person not to be seen ever again. You should plan something special for Haley, since her very generous and lovely Mother's Day plans were ruined by no fault of yours and hers. She didn't deserve that. And you don't deserve to be attacked for your life choices, because there's nothing wrong with being child-free. Not day whole. Right? Imagine coming in, eating free food, then attacking someone on the basis of what they do with their own uterus. Even my cats are more polite than that while being fed. Not day whole. You were invited by Haley and she knew that you were child-free. Maybe if you had misrepresented your family or something, you would be at fault. But Haley invited you specifically because she felt that you were very close and had taken on an important role in her life that, to me at least, seems like almost a godmother to her child. Also, there's absolutely nothing wrong with not wanting kids. It's a personal choice that is no one else's business, and you never have to explain it to anyone. You seem like an amazing person and friend, and Haley is very lucky to have you. Thank you so much. Reddit is amazing. Not Dayhall. That lady is weird and had no right to dictate who your friend invited. She was a guest and acted ridiculous. I'm glad your friend stood up for you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter that she doesn't have to forgive my wife? My 35 female daughter Amelia, female 12, has ulcerative colitis, and her body has a talent for building antibodies against medicines. She's had UC for 2 years now and hasn't been able to stay on medicine for longer than 6 months. She built antibodies against the medicine she was on and is in a bad flare, so we've been in the hospital since Monday. Monday to Wednesday, my wife Jessica, 36 female, and I were both at the hospital and only left for food/clothes and never left her alone at the hospital. Being at the hospital alone terrifies her. Then on Thursday, Jessica didn't come after work because she was tired. We got into an argument about it, but she swore she'd be here yesterday. Amelia was scheduled to get an NJ tube and PICC line yesterday and was scared and asked for both of us to be here. When she was FaceTiming Jessica, she promised Amelia that she'd be here in time. Then yesterday, when it was time to get the PICC line, Jessica still wasn't at the hospital. I checked Life 360 and saw that she was still at home. Amelia cried the entire time because her mom wasn't there. Then a few hours later, it was time for the NG tube. Jessica was still at home. Amelia sobbed and begged us to wait because she wanted her mom. She cried and fought so much that they had to wait until this morning to do it. I called Jessica last night after Amelia was in bed, argued again, and I told her to be here this morning. This morning they sedated Amelia and started to get everything ready for the NG tube, and Jessica was still at home. They ended up having to restrain Amelia because she was fighting so much. Jessica finally showed up 4 hours after the NG tube when Amelia was asleep. When Amelia woke up and saw Jessica there, she immediately told her to get out. Jessica left and came back a few hours later with bags of gifts for Amelia. She was again told to leave. Jessica asked if there was anything she could do to make her feel better, and Amelia said she'd feel better if she left her alone. I talked to Amelia and told her that it's understandable that she's mad at Jessica and that she doesn't have to forgive her right away. She needs time to work through her feelings, and that's completely fine. Jessica texted her and asked what she could do to get her to forgive her, and Amelia texted her back and said, "Mommy said I don't have to forgive you." Now Jessica's mad that I'm not trying to convince Amelia to forgive her. Not today, Hull. You did a great job not invalidating your daughter's feelings. What's up with your wife though? She forgot, and thinks that she can buy her daughter's forgiveness rather than acknowledge she messed up, and her daughter's hurt feelings are valid. I think she's having a really hard time coping with seeing her daughter so sick. Going through painful procedures, has gone into avoidance mode and couldn't bring herself to walk out the door to go to the hospital. It happens. Everyone gets so focused on the sick child that they fail to look after each other or give themselves self-care, and sometimes people just break. Opie needs to sit down with her wife and get her to talk about how she's actually feeling, just in case this is what is happening. If it is, then Opie can mediate to explain to their daughter why mom didn't show up. If it isn't what happened, then it's a whole other conversation. Not today, Hull. And Jessica might not necessarily be an a-hole either. Everyone needs to remember that this is an ongoing condition, not a one-week fiasco that most parents might deal with when it comes to their children. Parents of chronic and serious medical conditions can suffer many physical and mental issues themselves as a result of caring for their child. This is not a normal situation, and people need to be careful passing judgment. Parents deal with exhaustion, stress, emotional torture, and are prone to psychiatric conditions that might not normally have reared their heads, as well as breakdowns. Amelia is going through hell and fighting for her life, but Amelia only has herself to focus on. The world doesn't stop because 2 people have a sick child. So all the outside pressures that everyone has to carry without the stress of a constant medical emergency is still on their shoulders. Opie's a very strong person and is handling this situation amazingly, but not everyone can be that strong. I know this isn't the place for suggestions, but if I was in this situation, I too would be furious, but I would demand my spouse to see a medical doctor, as well as a professional that can help with any psychological issues that are starting to burst through the seams. Info. What was Jessica doing at home? Why did she say she would be there but not show up until it was over? Yesterday, her excuse was that she forgot, and today it was that seeing people vomit makes her nauseous. Amelia throws up a lot after getting an NG tube.